liquid. What does the word liquid here mean? It means that you could easily change it into, convert it into cash. For example, all these things are true. Traveler's checks, for example, I have pictures of some of them. I have some pictures of them right here. How many of you have used traveler's checks in your life? Some of you have, okay, very good. They're not as popular today anymore, but about 10 years or longer ago, the very first one came out, had this Roman soldier's head, that's your American Express. Usually it comes from all these credit card companies, because you also have Visa and Masters. What it is this is in the form of euro. Most of them are in major world currency, like US dollars. It's one of them. So what it is you buy it from the bank. You could have a denominations of, okay, let's say 100, or you could have all $20. So what you do is you sign at the bank. I think you sign, I forgot, I think at the bottom, yeah. And then you see there are two signatures, there's one on top. So when you cash it in, say if you're in France, somewhere in Europe, so you want to use traveler's check, so you show them this US $100, and then they will ask you to countersign it. So it's like cash. Now I know that in major US airports in New York City, they do accept traveler's check. And usually they ask for a form of ID, like your driver license, to check if your signatures are exactly alike. Now when it comes to M2, it's not as liquid. It's not as mobile. So we say, oh, this is not as mobile, and this is not as liquid. And what that means is that it takes time to convert whatever assets you have that are considered M2 other than M1. So example would be savings deposits, small denomination, time note, money market, mutual funds. Remember I mentioned the word mutual funds before. Anybody remember what it is? It's a portfolios of assets that you hold, like in terms of bonds and also stocks. So that is so that you're not putting all the eggs in one basket. You heard about that expression. It's very risky. So you have a little bit of mixtures of the markets are doing good. That's great, All your stock prices are increasing, like what we're doing, what we're experiencing right now. But then, very soon, overnight, the whole things could change. So if you do not hold any bonds, you could rise quickly and then you also fall very quickly, almost without any warning. So the market is like that. And so if you hold some bonds, which is not as risky, then it's good. So people want to balance it out. So they call it portfolio investment in terms of, and mutual funds have that feature. So what it is okay, so if you want to convert it into cash, let's say if you want to sell some mutual funds unit, you want to sell 100 unit. You're not going to be able to walk up to the bank and say, oh yeah, here's a piece of paper. Now give me my $100 or 100,000 that I asked for. They're not able to do it. It takes about 3 business days. So it takes time. So therefore, it's not as liquid as cash. Why do people want cash? Isn't that obvious? Because cash is what you get is what you see is what you get. But then if you just give them a piece of paper, it takes time to convert it into cash. Because everybody prefers cash because it's now, NOW. You have it right now. So, okay, so one more time, very quickly. Remember that M2 includes M1 as well, and other assets that are not so liquid, mobile as compared to M1. That's one of the test questions that we ask you, so remember that. Okay, very quickly, M1, once again, definition, a more formal definition now, which you also have in your book. This is a sum of currency outstanding and balances held in checking account. Okay, nothing surprising there. M2, on the other hand, is all the assets in M1 above plus. What else? Some additional assets that are usable in making payment but at a greater cost or inconvenience than currency or checks. It is not as mobile, it is not as liquid, it is not as convenient. It takes time to convert it. So we might have an in-class exercise coming up, so I would like for you to pay attention. So people are not here, they don't get it, because this is to encourage students to come to class. Next, I want to define what is bank reserve. So flip along your book with me. Let's see if we could find this definition. If you find it, tell me what page.
200.
I'm sorry?
200.
200. Oh, that's easy. 200. Okay, you heard about the term bank reserves here. What exactly it is? Bank reserve is something that you have to, from banking perspective, from commercial bank viewpoint, you have to set aside some kind of reserve in case emergency happen. Like during the Great Depression, what happened? You saw the pictures of me showing people lining up, unemployment line was long, and people trying to get jobs, they get layoffs, so they're trying to get jobs again. The banking system failed during the Great Depression. So what happened was, that's because, I'm gonna get to that. So there are two types of banking system. One is called 100% reserve banking. And this so-called 100% reserve banking, whatever deposit that consumer deposit into your bank, you set it aside, 100% of it. So let's just say this whole class, we collect money today. We say, oh, let's put together our money and see how much you got. And let's say we got 10,000. Okay, that's not too bad. We got 10,000 among all 25 of us. And then we're gonna walk to the bank, the nearest one, and we're gonna deposit it for this class. So if we do that, right, that 10,000 right there, according to 100% reserve banking, the bank, whichever bank that would put the money is, have to keep that 10,000 as in the form of reserve, meaning they cannot touch it. Do you think banks like that make money? What do you think? How do banks make money? How do they make money off you? Come on, we are all part of this whole system.
Interest.
Yeah, very good. Interest payment, yeah. How many of you take out college loans? It's not free, right? Not 0%. You pay, how many percent, tell me? You should find out. Yeah, you should know. What about mortgages? Anybody buying house? Okay, how much are you paying?
3.25.
Oh, very good. You did better than me. I had dropped from 4.5 to, I think the latest is, I got out because it's a line, credit line now, 3.9%, but still that's not very good. That's very good. Okay, what about car loans? How many of you have that? Okay, so there, you're at the mercy of this interest rate. And typically around 5% or less, if more than that, depending on your credit scores too, of course. Then the bank make money from you, from you by charging this interest to you, because then you have to make interest payment to them. So let's just say the second form is known as fractional reserve banking. Okay, going to come back to this after where's the other one? I'm missing something. Oh yeah, here it is, up here. Fractional reserve banking system. As opposed to the 100% reserve banking system. What is this? This one means that your reserve deposit ratio is less than 100%. So in other words, with that 10,000 under this particular system known as fractional reserve banking system, that $10,000 that we deposit, right? They are only going to let's just say it's 20%. So in other words, they only need to set aside 20% of that 10,000, which basically is how much? 2,000, right? What happened to that 80%? They use it to make money. They make loans out of it. Yeah. That's from their viewpoint. Smiling face is from their viewpoint, not from our viewpoint. Because so 20% is your reserve. deposit ratio. Ratio is like your rate, so it is in percentage. Remember I talked about that before. So you see, fractional reserve banking system, they make money. Because, they're not putting all 100% of your money in the bank and not making money out of it. Because it's the same, if you leave it there for 10 years, it stays there. The bank is boring in that case because you're not loaning out money. So because we know that on a typical day, none of the customer would walk up to, well, let's just say today we deposit at 10,000 and tomorrow we don't have class. So when the class resumes again, we say, well, let's all go to the bank again. Let's do our exercise again. What are we doing this time? We're going to withdraw all that $10,000 back. The banks, what do you think the bank would do? Do you think bank would have that money? Yes, they still have it. If they practice 100% reserve banking. But if they practice this kind, when we go back, they might say, whoops, I just loaned it to your neighbors. It's not there. And that's what happened during the Great Depression. When people were lining up at the bank trying to get their money, the bank said, whoops, we don't have. What happened? Well, everybody was asking, what happened? Because they didn't expect that to happen because that's how banks make money. They only keep certain percentage, a small percentage of reserve in case people play jokes on them. Because, on a typical day when you deposit big sum, you don't turn around and come back and withdraw this money and then, we got you. See, you cannot fulfill your banking responsibility. Well, people don't do that. We don't play jokes on banks just to prove that, hey, you're in trouble. So typically they know. A typical consumer do not. When they put their money in, they put it in to stay for a while, to earn interest. So therefore, it's quite safe that they could practice something called fractional reserve banking system, which means that the reserve deposit ratio is less than 100%. Now, deposit is the $10,000 that we walk up to the bank to try to deposit. The reserve is how much they have to put aside. So therefore, you have this equation. Please write it down, because this equation is important. We got two equations, actually. But before we look at this equation, I'm going to go back to this one because I did kind of quick earlier. So bank reserve is cash or similar assets held by commercial banks. Who are the commercial banks? Now, I think it was last year or last semester or so when my student did a paper, they didn't know the difference between what is commercial bank and central bank. Now, there is a big difference. Commercial banks are like your bank. What's your bank? BB&T, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. What is?
State employee.
State Employees Credit Union. That's your bank. That's called commercial bank. Central bank is the big daddy. They are the one who control the economy. The Federal Reserve Bank, that is. Today is our central bank in the United States. So they're different. They're kind of like oversee over these little banks called commercial banks. Okay, so 100%, I think you understand that. So let's go back to our equation. Let's do the first one. Okay, I'm going to write it down for you. So you got RD ratio. Because I'm tired of writing out reserve and deposit or spelling out, I just put RD ratio. Okay, so that basically is your reserve divided by deposit. That's a quick way to write it. It's the same thing. Now, if you were to rewrite this equation, this is saying that A is equals to B divided by C, right? If you rewrite this equation, you say, oh yeah, I want the bank deposit to be here. So then your deposit would basically be, so B is A times C. So C is B divided by A. Yep. So then you would have, in this case, the bank reserve divided by the RD ratio. So they are the same equation, really. Now, you would ask me which one to use. This one is easier for you to understand because it's RD ratio. So therefore, the R goes to top and the B goes to bottom, because this is ratio reserve deposit. But typically, when we ask you to apply in a problem, we are using this one. So I would say stick to this one. Okay? So be sure you write that down, because we're gonna do exercise coming up. So I think I might, we don't have everybody here, so I think we might do in-class exercise quickly, depending on how much time I have. So bank deposit basically is bank reserve divided by the RD ratio. So the ratio is in percentage. So let's look at a couple of examples, and I think I might ask you to do in-class exercise, depending on how we go, how quick, how fast, how much time we have. Okay, let's look at this example. In this example, we want to look at a fictitious economy known as Gorgonzola. Gorgonzola. It sounds like this Japanese, what was that movie?
Godzilla?
Yeah, sounds like Godzilla, yeah. Right. So anyway, in this particular economy, the currency is known as guilders. And there's 1 million of them being issued by the central bank. Okay, so at the beginning, central bank say, aha, I got 1 million. And then we say the residents choose to hold half of it, 50% of it, which is 500,000. Okay, is in the form of currency. Then the remaining 50%, which is the other 500,000, is available as bank reserve. So now we're going to compute something. Next, we say, assuming that we give you the ratio to be 10%, what is the bank deposit? So this one everybody could do. So you just come back to this, we'll do one here. You say, oh yeah, this is easy, so I just apply equation 2. So we're gonna erase this because I'm now on, we will use only equation 2. So if you apply this equation, you say, oh, I could do it because here it is, bank reserve is 500,000. So all that I do is write 500,000 up here. The RD ratio is 10%. Please do not write 10 here. You have to use decimal places, which means 0.10. Got it? So 500,000 divided by a smaller number, less than 1 number, you would expect this number to be big, which in this case we have. Can somebody read this in English? What is it?
$5 million.
5 minutes with an and. Very good. So this is different. 500,000, if you divide by 10% or 0.10, remember everybody, do not divide by 10, okay? Divide by 0.10. So you get 5 minutes here. Next, this is probably the most important equation for today. That last equation, write it down. That is a 10-star equation. The money supply consists of 2 variables. Number 1, the currency held by the public. Plus bank deposit, not reserve, but deposits. And at this point, you say, well, how do you fill in the number? Yeah, we got the first number. The currency held by the public was given earlier, it's 500,000. So there you got 500,000. And then the second one, which is your bank deposit, we have just calculated that to be 5 million. So 500,000 plus 5 million, you get 5.5 million in English. Which if you write it out in number, it looks like that. Okay, everybody okay with that? Okay, so remember that equation, money supply. Okay, so we're gonna do exercise very soon, so I hope you pay attention. Okay, let's look at one more example before we do that quick in-class exercise. You only have 5 minutes to do it. Why? So you need to pay attention. Because that's very fast. You could do it in 3 minutes, I tell you. All you have to do is copy everything out because I want to see if you understand. Let me explain this. If you have any question, ask me. Okay, so yeah, take out a piece of paper. We're not there yet, but this is the example that we're going to do. I'm going to make sure you understand, and then the next will be, ta-da, coming up. Okay, the money supply at Christmas time. So we say the currency is, say 500, that's given to the bank, reserve is 500. Reserve deposit ratio is 20% or 0.2. So we were so kind, we give that to you 0.2 instead of say 20%. Okay, money supply consists of, you said equation down there at the bottom, 500, how do we get that? We got that from currency held by the public. And the second one is a fraction. This guy is the same as this one. So you need two numbers here. The first number is reserve, which you got it to be 500. The other one is 0.2. It's a good thing we give it to you 0.2 instead of saying 20%, but it's the same thing. Now I want you to look at this very carefully. This is high school math. That is, when you do this expression, right, you have to do the one inside the bracket parenthesis first. I don't want to see student do 500 plus 500 is 1,000 and then divide by 0.2. Wrong. You're supposed to do this one inside first because this 500 stays the same. If you take 500 divided by 0.2, use your calculator, you got 2,500. Add it up together, you got 3,000. Is everybody okay with this math? Okay, remember that parenthesis, you have to do it first. Okay, so that's how we got two terms like that. Now, the scenario. This is a scenario, and then I'm going to give you another scenario as exercise. So listen to this scenario very carefully, okay? In this scenario, we say Christmas time, and so you go out and shop, and then you realize that this is Christmas Eve, and gee, I have not got my Aunt Sally a gift, or my Uncle Bob a gift, so, oh gee, I got zero cash in my wallet. So what do? Drive to ATM machine. They're still open Christmas Eve, right? Because they're not going to block it off because nobody's there. It's automatic, you know, as long as they have still money in it. So you got lucky. You withdraw how much? 100. And you were very happy when you got that $100. But let me ask you this question. What is the impact of you withdrawing that $100 to the money supply in the economy? We don't often think about it. We just think about, oh, Aunt Sally needs to have Christmas gift. You know, I got to have my $100 so I could buy my uncle and my aunt gift, you know. You don't think about what kind of impact it might have on the economy in terms of money supply. So here it is. We calculated for you. So this is what happened. Crucial line here, very important line. So the money supply becomes, look what happened, 600. How do we get at 600? Because?
You add to it.
Okay, you add to what? You add that $100 to the currency held by the public. You are, the public as a whole is richer, not poor. Got it? Look at the poor bank. Well, I already say poor bank, so you know the answer. So instead of 500, they got 400 now, because remember the reserve is what you deposit. This time you draw it out, say, ta-da, we got it. Aha, and the bank is now $100 poorer. But guess what? That 400, everybody see that? The poorer bank, the bank is poorer by $100. So that's from the fraction there, the reserve. You still divide by 0.2. So then you do it again, you say, okay, we got 600 here, yeah. So increase by 100, but, look at the second term. Whoops. 4,000 divided by 0.2 is 2,000. Look at it very carefully. Everybody open your eyes at this point. Let's talk about it very quickly. When you withdraw that money, that 100, so this grows linearly. So this goes up by 100. But this one has come down by 500, which is 5 times of what you withdrew. So let me introduce money multiplier. Please write this down. Very important. The money multiplier consists of 1 divided by RD ratio. I'm introducing you something that quickly will be very important toward the second half of the semester, which is only 2 weeks, right? So money multiplier, we use the word multiplier, is 1 divided by RD ratio. And what is our RD ratio here? It is 20%, 0.2. So tell me what's the number here? What should it be?
5.
Very good. That should be straightforward. 5. Uh-huh. By time. The public increase holding your action of withdrawing that $100 from the ATM machine has caused the money supply in general to drop from 3,000 to 2,600. Let's see one more slide and then we're gonna come back and do this exercise very quickly. When the reserve deposit ratio is 20%, every $1 reduction in reserve, right? You make the bank poorer by 100 actually, but every $1 reduction in reserve may reduce the money supply by 5 times of that $1, or 5 times of that $100, which is 500, which was the case we look at. So this is called a multiplier effect. In fact, we call it money multiplier effect. This multiplier effect is so important. I'm gonna give this about 7 star. Later on, it becomes 10 star. In general, when people make withdrawal, the money supply contracts by a multiple of the withdrawal, because we don't think about it like that. We just think about it linearly. We think about that $100 withdraw. We're rich now. In our wallet, we got $100 more. But then in the bank, they're not poor by actually poor by 5 times of that 100. Everybody can get it? Okay, here's your exercise. Ready? Okay, take out a piece of paper, write the name on it. You're gonna submit this one. Okay? If you have not been listening, of course you won't know what's going on, but and that's why I say pay attention. Okay, so you don't need it. I'm gonna erase this. I'm gonna help you out a little bit. You have to show working. Understand what working means. And this is all the working. I'm gonna leave that one up right there. So let's start out with money supply equals to, okay, 500. I'm gonna rewrite this one. You could rewrite this if you want. Okay, so you have, oh come on, this is just copying. I'm gonna skip that one and give you 3,000. Okay, so everybody write this line down, and then I'm gonna ask you the question now. If Christmas shopper, and that's you, because you have taken this economics class, you feel like, oh boy, this is what I did to the economy? I feel so bad. So you change your mind, you go back and, well, a fresh scenario, because if I say like that, you might get confused. Let's just say someone else decided, well, I want to do my economy a favor. I'm gonna go to the ATM machine. I'm gonna save actually. So I'm gonna help by deposit. Not just 100. Hey, 150. If Christmas shopper deposit 150 into the bank, show a new money supply. Show working. That's it. Everybody understand? We have erases because you don't need it. So all you need is that last equation. Please do not ask anybody how to do it. I would like for you to do your own work. You could ask me to clarify the question, because if you listen to me carefully, you know what I'm talking about here. So your beginning equation should be one like that. You could copy this down, and then we're gonna ask you, if Christmas shopper deposit 150 into the bank, show the new money supply. So in other words, you show like this, da 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 da, like that. And then I might say, well, bless you, is that bad? What happened? I'm just asking you to think for your economy, that's all. What happened to the, well, let's see. Well, actually, it's very obvious. Once you do the number, you know. So I just want you to calculate that. Okay, so that's it. You got 3-4 more minutes. You can do it, just write it all down. Yeah. So you just have to do one little change, right? And then I'm gonna move on, yeah, because we still got time. I gotta cover at least 2 or 3 more slides. Any questions at all, anybody? Okay, I'm gonna collect it when I walk by. You can give it to me if you have it already. Because I feel like it's very straightforward. So show all your working. You got your calculator. Very good. Oh, I like what you said. That last line is good. You working on it? You got it? More minutes. Just show you're working, even if you don't know anything, just show you're working. You don't know how to punch in your calculator, never mind, just write everything down. And then I could decide. Okay, this is not over yet, don't leave, okay, because I still got a couple more slides. Don't write too long either, you know, I'm very precise, get to the point, yeah. Okay, any more? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Any more? Let me take that. Let me take that. Okay, let me take it. Very good. Thank you. Okay, the rest of you, you could still, if you want to come up and give it to me now, that's good. I'm gonna move on to the next one because the majority of it, you still have it? Okay, why don't you come up and give it to me? I'm gonna continue. Okay. So at least in that. Okay. So next I want to introduce this very important concept. We call it OMO. OMO stands for Open Money Operation. So I got to cover this because so that we have enough time. Open market, not money, operation. So in this case, I'm going to draw a diagram. Okay? So this is central bank, and that's you, public, people like me and you. So I'm gonna draw money going this way, 1 million. Yeah, buy it the other way. So money goes this way, and this is a piece of bond. So Nathan, I'm gonna use you as an example. So I'm gonna walk up to you now. And we say, well, not yet, yeah. Let me explain this quickly. So this open market operation is what the Fed does to control the money supply. How do they do it? They control the money supply by changing the supply of the bank reserve. How do they do that? Okay, and what they do is they buy and sell bonds. So in the first scenario, if they were to buy bonds from the public, so I'm going to walk up to Nathan now, use it as an example. So let's see, that's your piece of $1 million bonds. Okay, so I'm going to buy it from you. So if I buy it from you, you're going to sell it to me, give it to me. So there it is. Now I got this $1 million worth of. I hope it's not that bad. Is it that bad? Okay, so he just handed me this $1 million bond, and I'm gonna give him how much? $1 million exactly. You get to receive it? Hey, take it. Okay, he's receiving it. So now he's gonna take that money. He's not gonna run. He's gonna put it in the bank. Okay, so that's what happened. Now he's a public. He's gonna deposit the money and put it in the bank. So that will increase the reserve when he does that. So in other words, if this is a purchase of bond by the Fed from, watch the preposition, the public. So in other words, a central bank is the active agent. Nathan's not gonna come to me and say, well, yeah, come on, buy it from me. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that decision. Decision is not his, it's my decision to come to him and say, whoa, hey, come on, sell me that bond. I'm gonna release that $1 million to you. And this is when his eyes become big. He say, okay, I'm gonna take that $1 million, thank you very much, and I'm gonna deposit it into the bank. And when he does that, the money supply goes up in the economy. We call it expansionary. Please write this down. Monetary policy. The buying of bonds or the purchase of bonds by the Fed, the active agent, not Nathan, not the public, from the public. So this is what it is. Increase in reserve will make the money supply goes up because as you recall that money supply is a multiple of the reserve. So the other case would be, what if I do it the other way? So now, if I say, instead of doing that, I say I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna sell a piece of bonds I have now. Again, I'm gonna walk up to Nathan. I said, this is a $1 million worth of bonds. I'm gonna sell it to him. Now he got it, and you gotta pay me. Come on. No, not that one. You have to pay me cash.
Oh.
Yeah, something else. The $1 million. So now I got $1 million. He is now $1 million poorer. So there it is, because the money flow out from him now, so therefore that will be, money supply goes down, we call it contractionary monetary policy. Very important concept for the second half of the semester. You're seeing the preview of it. So this will be sale of bonds by the Fed, instead of from the public, is to the public. It flows the other way. So if you do that, basically, we say that money supply in the economy comes down. Because there it is, poor Nathan, poor public is giving me everything, and I deposit it in the bank, whoops, clears, he's now $1 million poorer, or the public. So that's how the central bank essentially controls the money supply that way. So what you see here is exactly how I explain it over there. Okay, so we'll stop right here.